morning. I think I'm live. Should be. Just going to share my stream on Patreon, and then we'll get to making mugs today. So today I'm going to be attaching the bottoms of the mugs. I made these mugs, the walls of these mugs, like around 2 days back, Wednesday, and now it is time to attach the bottoms on and put the buttons on them. And after putting the buttons, I'm going to be attaching handles, but handles will happen tomorrow. So let me just post here. Give me 1 second. Some social media to take care of. Public and publish it now. Okay, I think all of this should be live now. I hope it is. And if you can hear me, or if you cannot hear me, send me a message. Actually, if you can hear me, send me a message. If you cannot hear me, you might be thinking I'm not saying anything. Okay, that's better. And I'm just going to go live on Instagram as well. And I will be making mugs. Lots and lots of mugs. I have around 40 mugs or so that I need to finish decorating, attaching the bottoms on. So it's going to be a long day. Hello, Inner Yarn Zen. So every mug that I make, it's all hand built, so the bottoms get attached one by one. I wish there was an easy way to it, but there really isn't. So I've cut up these rounds, just the exact size of the mug, or slightly bigger, because I will clean it up. And when I clean it up, there's a nice edge to the mug. This by far is the most time-consuming part, I think, of my mugs, which is attaching the bottoms on. Because the closer things get to its final stage, everything needs to be put on check, make sure everything is looking good, and it's kind of on that not very soft stage. It's getting stiffer, and now you cannot like go back. So whatever kind of final looks that you give right now is essentially going to be the final look of the mug. So I'm going to take a little extra care on each mug, but it does eventually get done. That is one down, 39 or so more to go. Hey Benjamin, I'm not quilting this morning, I'm making mugs. I'm liking your triangle quilt that's coming along. Let's see, giving me recommendations on what I need to buy. I don't need to buy anything else. I don't know if the microphone is picking up the sound of my tool scratching the surface. It can be an annoying sound, I'll admit, but since I'm making it, I don't hear it, but some people have told me that it's not a very pleasant sound. So hopefully you're not catching that sound. Quilt, crochet, knitter, good morning. You do all the things I like doing, so that's good. You don't have spinner listed in it. Don't you spin? It's afternoon your time. It's still morning here. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning out here. Where are you located? I'm in Washington State, the West Coast. So it's still 10 o'clock in the morning here. No, you haven't changed it. Yes, you need all the hobbies listed in your name. I was wondering that thing about my website Creative with Clay, because now there's so much fiber related stuff in there. I'm like, I don't know if I can still call it Creative with Clay, because there's just so much other stuff going on. But we'll see. It's just being creative is what it is. Long Island, as you say? What does that mean? I have no idea who says that. Oh, Long Island? Is that what? I get it. I said it out loud and I got it. How's the weather there? Today I think we're gonna have a pretty decent weather. I think it's gonna be sunny. Yes, I got your Long Island joke. I'm like, where is Long Island? I've never even heard of it. And the minute I heard myself, I realized. Yeah, it's bad. Making mugs, and more mugs. 50 degrees. That's not bad. Yesterday out here, it just like poured non-stop. It was raining, and it wasn't a um, fun day. Casper did not like going out for a walk, but he went because he has to. Though he does like to, his afternoon walks, he likes to go on a drive more than a walk. So he goes for a drive, and then Casper is my dog, by the way. Yes, he insists on going for a drive for his afternoon poop. Lots of mugs, most of them with the knitted patterns, because that's what everyone wants these days. Making as many as I can. I think I'll have like 24 of these knit pattern mugs, the big coffee mug size, which is my most popular one, out of which I have a feeling around 10 of them are for pre-orders, and the remaining 14 or so are going to go in stock. Oh, they're making socks. So Quilt Crochet Knitter says that she's making socks on a flatbed knitting machine today. That is a fun thing, because I have made socks on my flatbed knitting machine. I made actually several socks, several attempts, and some of them pretty successful too. And finally, when I had figured out how to make them, I finally coughed up and decided to get circular sock knitting machine, because I'm like, no, this is just too painful. And for me, it wasn't more of like, means I'd gotten the fit and everything properly, but I can easily do. I don't know. It must be something. My flatbed machine is an old one, so I got it second hand. It does ribbing just fine, but when you are trying to knit in the round on a flatbed machine, you're kind of, if you're using the ribber end and basically knitting a tube, uh, my machine it's really hard to move the carriage back and forth. Also because I'm knitting at a tighter tension, so there's a lot more things to it than just um, the ribber being, the carriage being tight to move around. But I usually have that trouble. So yeah, it's a good thing to be determined to get something that fits. That's absolutely right. And it takes time, but because it's faster, it's not like knitting socks by hand. So you can actually get some results decently fast within a day, to know that, okay, next time you'll just do a few extra rows, or maybe you'll do a deeper heel or something. And that's what I had made several like that. We just finished the ribbing. And are you going to be flipping it around, like flipping the ribbing to start knitting in the round, or are you going to knit them flat and seam them? Because there's so many ways you can do socks on the flatbed, and I have tried several ways of doing it. I'm curious to know what method are you trying. So one is you can do the ribbing, then you just drop the ribber bed, knit flat for the leg, and then on one half of them you do a short row heel, like put the other stitches on hold, do the heel, then you continue, and then you do the toe, and then you seam the whole thing along the side. I did that, but then I kind of prefer them knitted around. I don't like a seam in the sock running across. There are also ways of doing that seam so that it lays completely flat. But after getting the circular sock knitting machine, I haven't knit any socks on the flatbed. I've done other projects on the flatbed, but not socks. So transfer to main carriage, back to knit circular. Okay, so that's the crochet way. Yeah, that's how I like to knit them on the flatbed when I used to. But I used to find even doing the heels quite tricky because you kind of need to disengage the ribber and then do it. I made a whole long video of me doing it once I finally got it exactly how I like the socks to be. Minimizing the hole on the corners and all of that. And that was it. I was like, okay, done. Now I don't want to make them anymore on the flatbed. And like I said, then I got the circular, and once you get the circular, it's kind of pointless to go and knit your socks on the flatbed machine. Though I still knit socks by hand. I'm actually knitting 2 pairs right now. They're nice portable projects, so I like them for that. So any other viewers who like knitting socks, or knitting socks on a machine, or knitting socks by hand, chime in, give us your thoughts. And I don't know if people watching have seen my Instagram story recently. I think I've reposted this morning. There's something new coming next year. I am going to be teaching a class with Crafty Monkeys on knitting socks by hand. And these are going to be toe-up socks, and they're going to be like, bed socks. So not necessarily your sock yarn socks, because it's going to be a live class and people will be knitting along, and socks do take time. So it's actually a class over 3 weeks, and we'll be doing the toe. These are going to be toe-up socks knit with magic loop, starting at the toe, then the foot gets knitted, then the heel gets knitted, So next, the second week will be the heel, and then the third week will be, you know, binding off and variations and all of that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I am working on the sock samples. Uh, I'm getting close to having them done, but it takes time. It takes time to knit socks, and knit socks which you're planning to teach takes extra long time because it's I usually knit with sock yarn, but I kind of wanted to do it with thicker yarn so that people can follow along and it would be easy for everyone to follow. So, hey Casper, the Casper's come to say hi. You can go night night in your bed. You can go night night. It's good. No? Okay. Not interested in hanging out with me. Sorry, my Instagram got paused for a second. I'll come back. Hello, Nitty Kitty. Yeah, I don't know, for some reason my phone, on which I am on the Instagram live feed, um, it blanks out. Like occasionally it'll keep doing that. Like after every minute or so, the screen just kind of darkens. So I need to press the screen again to activate. Nitty Kitty, you are Elena, right? Or am I getting confused? Because you have joined Instagram probably after a very long time. I could be totally mistaken. I apologize. Alright. 7 masters. Yes! I got it. You are Elena. So yeah, you noticed a lag when doing IG live. Yeah, there is. It's, I don't know what it is. It's not just a lag. It's like my screen just darkens and I need to push, touch my screen to activate it again. Like that's the reason why the camera shakes every now and then. You love the monkey in the background. Yeah, he's just hanging around. There's a story to that monkey, which was which actually brings me to the point that I'm actually going to be doing an in-person show on Bainbridge Island. This is going to be on December 3rd and 4th, which is Friday and Saturday. And why that monkey reminded me of that is because the show is going to be at my friend's place, Raquel Stanek, who has a home bakery by the name of Raquel's Farm Stand. And I'll be posting details. If you're on my newsletter, you should have received it. But she's the one who had given me that monkey once when I did do a show on Bainbridge Island, and she gave me that monkey with a sign attached to it, which said best booth award or something, and there were just two of us out there, and she still felt that she had to give me an award for coming there and doing a show. So since then the monkey has been hanging around. So anyway, December 3rd, 4th gonna be my first show after what, since Stitches 2020 February, so almost 2 years. I hope I know how to talk to people in person. So I'm going to be there. I'm trying to make some inventory as much as I can. I kept thinking how much I need to make, and I kept getting overwhelmed, and I said, I'll just make how much ever. I'm not going to think too much about it, like what I should make, how much I should make, how am I going to set up, what will I take. I'm like, let's just make stuff, and I'll just take whatever I have. And I do plan on taking some of my new work. I'm working on some wall sculptures, fiber and ceramic sculptures. I'm gonna take those with me, and I might, if I finish my quilts, I might take some quilts with me. I don't know. I'm still not sure. It all depends on whether they are worth showing at the end when we're actually quilted and done. Because the quilt tops are done, I still need to quilt them. And I've practiced enough quilting that I feel confident enough to tackle them now, but I still need to tackle them. So hopefully that will happen. We'll see. This is just mindless attaching bottoms to mugs over and over again. How much fun is that, right? So just to make things move along faster, I always prep up the bases earlier. I roll out those slabs, I cut them as to the size of the mug that I'm making, and then I can just go in assembly mode rather than having to make the pieces every now and then. I just have those pieces ready and I'm just now doing assembly work. Kind of like when you get IKEA furniture. The parts are there. Now you just need to join it. Just takes a little bit more skill than assembling IKEA furniture. Elena says that she got to go. Nice to see you after a little bit. Love you. I care way more than that. Actually. Yeah. Well, you have a good day. And hope to see you soon again. Don't work too hard. Oh, I like that nickname. I knit too cold too. I'm really quite, amazed by the Instagram handles people have. And I'm like, I can't come up with anything special. Yes, I just put my name there. I'm in general pretty bad with naming things. We were talking the other day about uh, naming spinning wheels. I never have named my spinning wheels, but this year, well, last year, I kind of started feeling the pressure because, all my spinning friends all had names for their wheels except for me. So I did assign some names, but I rarely refer to them by their names. I just refer to them by the brand name, like the Aura or the Daedalus Sparrow or the Daedalus Magpie. They are not called Sheila, Sona, and Kesari as they're supposed to be. But, yeah, I just want to get names. I find it sometimes hard to relate to them as living things. And even as a kid growing up, I don't think I named them as such. I guess people name their toys. We didn't have pets growing up, so there was no naming of the pets involved either. But now I have Casper. And Casper came with his name because he was from the rescue. And when we got him, he just felt like a Casper. We did debate on naming him something else, but I was like, no, he feels like a Casper. He responds to his name. Why do we need to change it? His name was by the previous person who had him. Uh, they had named him Buddy, but when they turned him in at the rescue had like 5 buddies. So they were like, okay, we cannot have another dog by the name of Buddy. So they changed his name to Casper. And Casper was with them for around 4 months. So he wasn't adopted for a while. He was just waiting for us to show up, I guess. Yeah, people name cars as well. See, I've never even named any of my cars. Uh, Again, just call them by their name. Honda, Acura, or whatever. Uh, or like my big white van is just my big van. That's it. Doesn't have a name. So I don't know if it's a cultural thing or it's just me. I think it's just me. See, I didn't even get to name my dog, so it's maybe it's like I just don't know how to. I was very picky on finally when I was put under the pressure of, naming my wheels. I did put a lot of thought into it, but then it's just like, where do I? So Marty Valley asked, where do I put my mark on the pottery pieces? I actually signed the bottom of the pieces. I'll show you how they are marked. I've already prepped up the slabs and I have put my stamps on them, but you can see at the bottom there, it's probably going to show as a mirror image. Yes, it is. But there, it says my name, Charan Sachara, and what I use for it. Oh, I know what's going to show you the name correctly. There, that's my stamp. That doesn't show up as a mirror image because the stamp is a mirror image. So that's my stamp, and when I do stamp it, it does show up. Hey Zach, nice to see you here. I'm not quilting, I'm quilting with mugs, with clay. So yeah, so that's my name stamp, and it goes on all the pieces that I make. So I'm in production mode right now, making as many mugs as I can. So all my mugs, they get made with slabs of clay, very much like pieces of fabric, all seamed together with knitted patterns, embroidery patterns, all kinds of fabric foam patterns, right? Quick question, it says she gotta go. Thanks for the visit. Well, thank you for visiting. Do let me know how your socks land up coming out on the flatbed. I know it takes time, but keep at it. I know it took me several sock tubes to finally figure out how I like my socks made on the flatbed machine. So I'm sure you'll have no problem with it. So yeah, so as you can see, the now has a stamp. So what I do is I actually prep up my slabs. I roll them out to the thickness I need, and I stamp them and I cut them into rounds. So this is like my tray full of the rounds in there, and they're all ready and prepped up to go. All ready to go up into the bottoms of my mugs. Assembly time. Anyone else watching that does some hand building with clay? Or just pottery in general? I used to throw on the wheel a lot. Not anymore. So Zidin, it says that not since high school, but it was your favorite part of the day. Yes. Most of the people, even when I go to shows and stuff, people will walk into my booth and will share their experience with clay. And most of them out here in the US, right? It's like everyone has played with clay in high school or might have taken a course in college or something. But in India, it's like very rare to come across people who will be like, yes, I took clay. It's not like something part of your school program. So I never experienced that in India. But here it's like I'm amazed. Even when I teach workshops, it's like there'll be so many people who'll be like, yes, I handled, I threw on the wheel, everything in high school. And then once it's out of your program, because it does require equipment, right? You need your wheel, you need your kilns to fire, the glazes and stuff. So it requires some big equipment and space. And it is messy, so it's not like you could do it in your kitchen, though I've heard of people doing stuff in their kitchen. It's possible. When space is tight, we all can figure out ways to do things. And hand building is kind of a much cleaner activity than throwing on the wheel, I believe. Um, you can keep things a lot contained with hand building. So K8 Pulse says, yeah, I have a wheel and kiln but haven't used in 20 years. Watching you makes me miss it. Well, pull it all out, start playing with it. Just do some hand building. It doesn't require too much of a setup. You need some clay, a rolling pin, and you can be off to making mugs. So, and also, for people who don't have the equipment with them, there are always some places which might be willing to fire for you. Find a local potter who will fire your pieces in their kiln for a certain price. um, it just depends on who it is. Honestly, if somebody came to me, I would be like, I would, but it's going to take some time because I have to give priority to my pieces, which is usually going to be the case. But don't let it stop you from making stuff. And people usually start off with hand building because you don't require much tools, um, and then they move on to spinning wheel, the not spinning wheels, but the wheel to throw pots and things like that. I started with a wheel and then came back to hand building because I enjoy the process of hand building a lot more. It is a little less messy. Like I don't have to have my hands in cold water in the winter time, hunched over the wheel, throwing. though I used to use warm water, but it does get cold after an hour of throwing, and it's just hard, much harder on your body. And once I sit on the wheel and I used to throw, it's like I had to do certain amount of work before I could get up, because it takes time for you to set up, clean up, and everything. So it's always kind of good to, try to get as much as possible done once you're sitting on the wheel. But it also gets you very exhausted. I like hand building because I can take a break whenever possible. So, like, if I wanted to take a break right now, I could and just do something else, or I could continue working. And all I have to do is just clean my hands, and I can step out pretty quick and then get back to it again pretty easily. With throwing on the wheel, it's almost like it takes me half an hour to clean up. And of course, hunched over the wheel is not a good idea, so I used to throw standing up as well. That was much better for my back, but eventually even it just got to be more painful than I would like. And plus I was doing, supplying work to shops and galleries and stuff, and it was nice to have, similar size pieces. And I could make consistent work on the wheel as well, like same size pieces and all that. I did that for a while, but it just kind of wasn't very efficient for me. Plus, I like to have all these textures on my mugs, and with throwing on the wheel, you kind of get plain surface on which you need to add all this texture. With hand building, I can add all the texture on my slabs and then hand build with it. So my decoration surface part is kind of done in the beginning itself, and I don't have to fuss around with, damaging my piece while I'm decorating. It's kind of, the surface is already decorated. That's one advantage that I found. But there are so many ways you can make mugs. You can just slip cast them too. You can slip cast, hand build, make pinch pots. Many ways to indulge. I'm done with 14 months and I still have a lot more to go. I have total 40-ish months. So K8 says your textures and the shapes you make are great. Well, thank you. All the textures, surfaces and everything for me are all inspired by my love for fabrics. Whether it's embroidered fabrics, knitted fabrics, lace patterns, cables, I've done woven patterns. All of them kind of are reflected in the surface of my pieces, and the shapes and stuff too. Like, all my pieces, as you see, have seams on them. And if you've seen my finished pieces, they have buttons on the seam, just like how clothes have it. So Marty Valley asks, do you dry them upside down or right side? I do dry them upside down. So it's really convenient to do that. It evens out the drawing, especially because you're hand built. The clay doesn't have that round memory which thrown pieces have, right? So I kind of want them to dry upside down, otherwise uh, the walls can warp a little bit. And they're still not perfectly round because they are hand built. I'm not trying to make them perfectly round, but at the same time, if I do slow down their drying process by placing them upside down, the rims don't, like, see, this is pretty round. They don't get altered too much. And I even bisque fire them upside down. And that also I have realized helps to keep their shape nice and round. And once they are bisque fired round, then I glaze them. Sometimes there can be some alteration in them, but you know, at that point it's very slight. It, that just speaks to the hand-built nature of those. I'm not trying to make thrown parts out of hand-built parts. I am making hand-built parts. So it's not going to be perfectly round anyway. But now even when I'm spinning it, you can see there's a very slight wobble, but you know, visually, once the wheel stops and you're not spinning it perfectly, you're not going to even see that wobble, so it really doesn't matter as such. But yeah, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that, of how I dry my parts, which is something very crucial actually in the bottling making business. So Marty Valley, do you throw on the wheel or do you hand build as well? Okay, now I could feel something in the clay right there. There was like a stone-like piece there. I feel it. Get out. There, tiny bit of something weird, but it's out now, so we're good. Oh no, there's another big piece. Goodness, look at that. You do wheel throwing. Nice. Yeah, I did lots of wheel throwing earlier. Kate asks, spray booth. Do you mostly spray glazes? Do you mix your own glazes or use commercial? So yes, I do have a spray booth, which you can see, which is right behind me. I actually don't use my spray booth for most of my work. I use the spray booth only for when I do larger pieces. which are like platters and sculptures and such. My mugs and uh, almost all my functional pieces get dipped in a glaze bucket. And I do make all my glazes because I like to know what's exactly in them. The only commercial glazes I use are underglazes. Then those I use just for, slight accenting the piece and things like that. But the general, my entire glaze is all made by me from scratch. So Marty asked, also like to hand build, but not so good at it. I learned so much watching you today. Oh, good. I'm glad you did. So if you follow me on YouTube, there are lots of videos of me hand building live during the different stages. There'll be stages where I'm prepping up the clay, trimming up the templates, live videos just like this. Currently, actually, even this video is being relayed live on YouTube. So you can even follow me on YouTube and watch my lives there. That has two camera angles, actually a focused camera angle on the pot, and another camera angle where you can see me. But yeah, it's hand building is a lot of fun. And over the years, I've kind of, developed ways of hand building which is quite efficient, I believe. Like I used to throw on the wheel, and hand building in general is slower than throwing on the wheel. But for me, for the kind of textures and patterns and stuff that I want, over the years I've come up with ways to, hand building which is a lot faster and just gets things done quicker. And I can work in quantities much easily without using up that much space. Um, when I threw on the wheel, the one problem I always had was, having the pieces dry evenly because they tend to warp a lot and stuff when they are wet and you're trying to dry them. And then they take up a lot of volume of space in the studio for a longer period of time to dry up in general. Some people just leave them open, but if you want to decorate them and all of that, you cannot, just have them bone dry just like that. So, I know it's doing smaller parts. So yeah, I have with hand building, it's like, see, I have all my clay stacked up, like, these slabs, rounds, which are just stacked up one on top of another. These are around 40 to 50, I think, pieces of the bottoms that are going to be attached to all the mugs, and they all fit onto this tiny little thing. And on a similar board, I will stack around 16 slabs for mugs as well when I'm making mugs. 16 to 20 sometimes. So I can have like 50 mugs all textured, trimmed, and ready to make into mugs onto slabs like this. And they are taking up only like that much of space. And of course, when I build them, they take more space. But then they are not at that very wet stage. Like now the hand building is a lot faster. Like yesterday I built the walls up, today I'm attaching the bottoms, and then I'll be doing the buttons tonight most likely, and tomorrow I'll attach the handle. So within 3 days I'll have 50 mugs done. But if I was throwing on the wheel, I think it would take me 3 days to just dry them. So Marty asks, the wooden tool you use inside the mug seals the seam, I'm guessing. Yes, it does. It cleans up the seam basically. It's, it's just a It's a tool I think I got from India actually. I visited. It's all made for some really nice dark rosewood or something I was told, or teak. No, sorry, teak wood. And I got a whole set of different tools, but this is my favorite one among them because that's the tip that I run along the bottom edge of my mouse. And I don't know if you can see that in here, but no, the light is not going to fall. But it just cleans up that inside edge. So it seams it, but essentially it, cleans it. Because there are times when I have not cleaned it up, it's sealed, it's not going to leak, it's just not a clean edge. I don't want your coffee to stain and that jagged edge there, so I always clean it up. It just helps doing that. And sometimes I even run a paintbrush over it, but it's not required most of the time. So these are my slightly smaller mounts which I make. And that's the other thing I like about hand building. Like once I have a template for a certain size of mug that I need to make, I can just use that template. If I was throwing on the wheel, then it's like using lesser amount of clay, a certain shape and everything, which is fine. It's kind of the same process, but this just makes it easier for me. Like I know every time I use this template, I'm going to get the same size mug. And I can make all my mugs almost looking very identical. Um, Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. So, if you want to make truly one of a kind unique pieces, you could even hand build them individually. But if you are trying to get certain production pieces, like these are called production pieces. And I do one of a kind pieces as well. So for those that are not like me, that's just starting from slabs, and I do extrude a lot of my work. I even extrude my slabs actually, because I find it a lot more efficient than the slab roller. I feel the slab roller takes up so much more time and there's so much more wastage when rolling out slabs. So I actually extrude all my slabs, and I can extrude them to the exact dimensions I need for the mugs I'm making. So that really makes a big difference. Anyone else? Any other questions? Clay questions? Fiber questions? Knitting questions? Quilting questions? Not that I will have all the answers. I just want the questions. So then I can find out for myself the answers if I don't know. Hi Carla Singh, good morning. I've watched you spin, but never watched you work with clay before. Through what is it called? You haven't seen me work with clay before? So clay is my primary focus actually. I probably go live more with my spinning than I go with my clay. But what I do is I hand build. They are all made from slabs, not thrown on the wheel. So the term that you got through is right. It's uh, several potters do throw on the wheel to make round mugs and handle them from slabs. So I treat my mugs and my clay very much like fabric. I see them as yardage that I cut into templates and then I can seam them together, you know, so that I can make the walls of my mugs, and then today I'm attaching the pockets on it. So I'm trying to get ready for the holidays, which seems very challenging right now. But I don't have a whole lot of stock. I do have some stock already in my shop, but I'm trying to make some more pieces. And if people do want to place orders for the holiday seasons, if it's a made to order item, I strongly suggest placing an order before November 15th, which is next week. It's coming up quick because I don't want to take the stress of trying to get stuff done at the last minute and hoping the postal service will deliver on time. I've had 2 packages lost this year, so you know, sooner is always better when it comes to shipping. So Kala says I need a grand size mouse, but I will wait for after the holidays. That's fine. I do have some jumbo, so I make these 20-ounce mugs, which are this big. This is the biggest size mug I make. These are 20 ounces, and I do have some in my shop, some with the lace pattern and with the knit pattern. And they are ready to ship. So they are on my website, creativewithclay.com. So you can go and have a look, or you can wait for after the holidays. No pressure, but definitely if you place an order like first or second week of December and go like I need this for my holidays, it's not gonna happen. So just letting everyone else know that it takes me at least 4 weeks to have a turnaround time if I'm working non-stop and doing absolutely nothing else and only working in clay. Then yes, I can get stuff out within 2 weeks, but after doing that for 2 weeks, then for 2 weeks I cannot do anything else. So eventually it still ends up being a 4 week turnaround time. So from starting from scratch with clay and getting stuff out the door, 4 weeks is what I would say is good. For tracking says, I love watching you work as a multi-craft creator. Makes me feel better about having many crafting hobbies. Thank you. Clay is my primary business, and it started off as a hobby, but it essentially never was. It's very soon became my, serious. It became my job. Let's say that. And but yes, the spinning, the knitting, the weaving, the quilting, all of that is fun things that I like to do, and they all are they inspired me to do things in clay, so they kind of are all, loosely connected to each other in some way or the other. It's not just like, I do that as a separate thing. They all kind of influence what I do. So Marty says, thank you for answering my questions. You're very generous to share. I have to go because of time, but I think you're awesome and will definitely try to join you live. Right? Thank you so much. I'm glad you joined in. Thank you for these wonderful questions, and I hope they helped. Uh, and I'm always willing to share. Uh, there is nothing that hasn't been done under the sun yet. Everything has been done before, maybe hundreds of years before. So there's nothing new I'm doing. I might be just doing it in a different way. So you can always pick up on new ways of making things and find them. Today, Facebook and YouTube are super silent. Not a single comment from there, or Twitch even, but Instagram has been nice and chatty, which is always good. Somebody needs to be chatty, otherwise I get bored. Otherwise I'll be watching trash TV. So for tracking sales, I'm a new fan of yours. Have you ever talked about what brought you to the Makerspace? I have. I keep talking about it, but I don't mind talking about it now if you'd like to hear. Um, so I have a little bit of history, but I actually studied to be engineer and then a computer programmer, and I worked in uh, computer programming for software programming for around 11 years. And right when I got my first job uh, in Washington State doing programming, I found play as well. I just took some few lessons and stuff at the local guild, became a member, and just started, you know, making mugs and whatever. So I used to throw on the wheel a lot. Used to make a lot of teapots. That was my favorite thing to do, and very sculptural pieces too. I've done lots of stuff. But then after around 11 years of working and doing the clay simultaneously, 2011 is when I finally quit my job and then started doing the clay full time. And yeah, I've been doing clay full time since 2011. I had my very first show probably in 2004 while I was still working at Intel. So now it's been like, what, 2004? That means like 17 years or so. I think that's right. 2002. No, 2002 I got married, and it was that very next year, 2003, was when I had my first show. So 2003 was my first show. So it's been 18 years now of me selling pottery and making stuff. And so Cash, been looking at your mugs for a few years and finally bought the 16 ounce that's ready to ship. Oh, cool. Thank you. Yeah, the 16 ounce mugs are my most popular size mug. And to give you like size reference, but you probably know. Let me make sure. Hopefully, I didn't pause there for too long. Looks like somebody's at the door. Hold on, I need to get that. Okay, all right. So Kiostra said, should you wash them by hand? No. My mugs and my glazes, they are all machine. I mean, I'm talking about yarn as a machine washer. They are all dishwasher safe, microwave safe. I do that because I want things to be practical. I want people to use them because when people think that they have to hand wash stuff and everything, they are reluctant to use it. And I have spent several years making mugs, and there are, they have changed slightly over the years just for the practicality of mugs, like, the handles being more comfortable, the lip being more comfortable, the weight of the mug being right, the shape, the size, the balance. And the whole reason of doing all that is so that people use them. So I don't like to put restrictions on the mugs or anything that, hey, you have to hand wash it. No, I want them to be very practical pieces which you can actually use day to day. And yeah, I've been using these same glazes and clay for all these years that I've been making portraits. So, and they're all food safe. And since I do make all my glazes, um, I know that they last. I know there's nothing weird in them or anything too. So yeah, I was talking a little bit about my story of clay. Yeah, see, the hand wash mug is something that people rarely use. And the other thing I have noticed is because I do shows. That I used to do a lot more shows before the pandemic, and now it's mostly all virtual. But the one thing when people come to my booth, and occasionally there'll be people, they're like, "Oh, I need to get another mug because I broke my mug." And the number one reason why that mug broke has been because they had left it in the sink because they were going to hand wash it. And someone else slipped something under that mug or dropped something on top of the mug, or while hand washing it, it slipped from their hands and it broke. I'm like, it's actually safest to put it in the dishwasher because then that way there's less chances of it breaking or handling or just sitting in the sink. So yeah, the number one reason why I get people saying that, oh, my mug broke, is because they had intentions of hand washing it and they just sat in the sink waiting to get broken. So just put it in the dishwasher and it will be fine. So yeah, would you like to see the different sizes of the mugs? I can show it to you. Um, quick. Oh. All right. Okay. So now that you can see me, so this is my most popular 16 ounce mug. You're seeing a mirror image of it, so. that's my 16 ounce size. That's my most popular size. And then this is the, I think this is like 10 ounces. Great for tea. This has three buttons on it. It's shaped like that. Because some people like to have hot beverage, but they like to have little amounts of it and drink it quickly. So that's that one. And then this is a big 20 ounce. This holds a lot of coffee. And the ones which are bigger in size, like the 16 ounce and the 20 ounce, I do taper them so that they have a narrow opening and they're wider at the base. That way it holds the heat better. So, so that's why when it comes to making smaller mugs, I prefer this size because it doesn't need to hold heat that much because you finish drinking it much sooner. There's no point of making it hold heat that much. But when it comes to the bigger mugs, you need that. And the bigger mugs too, they are not very heavy. In fact, there is not much weight difference between my 16 and 20 ounce mug. They weigh almost the same. So yeah, those are the three sizes. So which one did you get? I need to look onto my phone for the order, and I cannot do that right now because I am watching. I'm doing a live right now. So, but thank you for your order, and I'll have this all shipped out tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday. Yeah, I can ship it out tomorrow. So back to making. I have only 7 more of these big ones. Oh, the paisley honey glaze. Oh, do you want to see the exact one you're getting? I'll show you. Okay, stay with me in case the screen pauses again. So this is the one that's going to be shipping to you. So Chaos says you have one of each style. That's cool. Yeah, the 16 ounce one is the one which I do with different, textures and patterns and everything. And I, 2-3 years back, I had done a 15-year anniversary mug, which had I think 8 different patterns, all in one mug. I don't know if you got to see that one. I don't. I have like a sample texture thing out here which I made for it. But so this, of course, this is base fire. It doesn't have a base, but you can see the different textures I put in. So I've done stockinette, knit pattern. I've done the embroidery patterns. And so which ones of these do you have? You said you have 5. You have to not pinpoint. This is the hand spun yarn pattern, which looks like hand spun yarn. And you've only known me about for a year. This is the lace. So that's the lace pattern out here. This was my very earlier pieces. This was when I was doing block prints on my mugs. So that also got included as a pattern. And this is a garter stitch, which is also one of the patterns. After this, I have introduced cables. I have had, oh yeah, most of yours are in stockinette, but different colors, I guess. Hey Alex. Yeah, so I've done those patterns, and after those, I've done cables, I've done the woven pattern, I've done the fine stockinette pattern with the color stripes, which look like hand spun yarn. I have those in stock currently in my shop too. So yeah, the garter ones is discontinued, the cable one is discontinued. So what happens is, like, after a certain time, I'll discontinue a pattern because my texture mat wears out and I have to redo the whole thing all over again. And only if there is a high demand for it do I make it. but I also want to bring new patterns every year. So rather than spending time, remaking an old pattern, which only few people are requesting, I rather focus on new texture patterns every year. So the stockinette pattern, I made several of them because they keep coming back. Everyone likes them. So I keep the stockinette pattern. But all other patterns have come and gone. And so far, the lace pattern and the stockinette pattern have stuck around for the longest. So I still make the lace and I still make the stockinette. And early this year, I'd introduced the fine stockinette, which has a really fine, tiny stitches, and it has color stripes in them. Yes, you should look forward to new ones, and then keep your collection going. Right? I do have plans of, well, I shouldn't say I have plans of it. I would like to make a holiday mug. I had done an exclusive holiday mug last year. I don't even have a single mug out here to show you how it looked. It was a stockinette pattern, but if you go back on my Instagram in December last year, I had done an exclusive holiday mug. Uh, I was going to do one this year. I'm still in two minds whether I'll be able to do it or not, but we'll see. And yes, they do make great gifts for knitters. And interestingly enough, I've heard, from yarn shop owners that they also make it very easy for the husbands to buy something for their knitter spouses or partners, because they go in and they're usually very clueless, because it's like, well, yeah, she likes to knit, but I have no idea what to get her, like what yarn to get her, because obviously she has more yarn that he cares for, and he has no idea what's the right thing. You can give him merino, you can give him anything, alpaca, and he'll be like, yeah, whatever. And then he doesn't know her favorite color to get, or how much to get, or what she would like to knit with it. And he's get pretty clueless sometimes, not all the time. But when the yarn owners have told me, but when they walk in and they see one of my mugs, they're like, oh, this she will like for sure, because she loves her coffee, she loves her tea, and it has a knit pattern on it, and it has buttons on it. There's, you know, it's a good gift. So yeah, so I was talking a little bit about my history. I don't know who was asking about it, or whether I did just start talking about it eventually. But yeah, since 2011, I went into this full time, and I was making mugs, sculptures, everything, doing a lot of shows. Alex, you say you're such a. Why do you say ugh? You do some amazing work too. And I've been hand building for so many years. So it just is practice. And I think I was talking to somebody else earlier about hand building, what um, the kind of one of the things with different with hand building and versus throwing on the wheel is like knowing that exact stage at which you should do a particular process with the clay. Like there's a certain stage of dryness of the clay which works the best for applying my texture. It's not just with wet clay, no. Um, and right after applying the texture, I cannot just hand build right now, even though it is in a good state. I could, but in order to get nice straight lines and not it be a wobbly mug and me not messing up the texture and all of that, I need to wait for the next stage of dryness. And then once I've gotten that, I again cannot attach the bottoms of these pieces right away. I usually wait for a day or two, and then attach the bottom, because see, I'm taking this and I'm hitting it on my banding wheel, and if this was even slightly wobbly, I'm gonna lose my walls. They'll all become wobbly. So, so Alex says that you have only prioritized wheel throwing. Yes, timing is crucial. Yeah, and even with, you if you are just doing wheel throwing, you know that there is a particular stage when the clay is perfect for trimming, right? So it's kind of the same way with hand building, except that there is just there are so many more stages in it. Like the stage at which that I apply the bottom is not the same stage at which I can apply the handles. Because right now, if I apply the handles, I'll again mess up the sides of my pot. So I need to wait till tomorrow morning to apply the handles. But the good thing I find with hand building is that I can kind of do like an assembly line. Uh, I know it sounds like such a bad word, but it's like I can apply, I can spend a day, apply textures to like, 50 marks. The next day I can make the walls. So Rakesh Kumar on Facebook asks, you don't apply slip after scoring the base? No, I don't. It all depends on the kind of clay you're using, whether you do need slip or you don't need slip. That's what I feel. My clay works pretty well. It's a stoneware. It's really good for hand building. I've earlier applied slip, but I've never found it to be necessary. So eventually I stopped applying it and realized I really don't need it. All I'm applying is a little bit of water and scoring it, and that's enough to keep my pieces together. So, so yeah, and so that has been my journey, about where we had reached my journey. I was talking about me working with clay, and then, oh yes, the other craftiness that entered into my life, which was knitting into first. So fiber related, my mugs and stuff, even early on, always had that look of embroidery on them, because my mom used to run a boutique in India, and it's, coming from India, you see saris and embroideries and everything. Um, it just becomes like very normal to gravitate towards those textures and colors. So that was always there in my work, but I got into knitting around 2014, I think, and 2014, 2015, I started knitting, and then that was like the first time that I noticed, like, hey, I'm making my own fabric now. Maybe I should try to put this on my mugs, and that's how the knitting patterns appear on my mugs. And then, as many of you who are probably watching are aware, that with fiber, it's not just one hobby, right? It just leads from one rabbit hole to another. First you're just knitting, then you're saying, oh, and you buy all this yarn, then you start weaving with it, because you think you will end up using it faster, but all you'll end up doing is buying more, because the weaving requires a lot more yarn. Then you decide maybe you should make your own yarn, so you start spinning, and now you're spinning and you're weaving, and you have all this yarn, and now you have all this fabric. Then you start learning how to use a sewing machine, so you can join all these pieces together to make something out of your weavings. But the good thing is like each hobby kind of pushes me to do certain things in play. So that's where I just keep playing around with it. So that's what my maker's journey and my clay journey kind of just keep intertwining back and forth. So Rakesh Kumar says, thanks. I'm following you for the last many years and witnessed your knitting journey because you joined your first job in 2014 in Jaipur. I learned a lot from you. Oh, thank you. So, do you knit? Because if you join my knitting journey, so I assume you knitted. Are you a friend of Christopher? Are you that Rakesh Kumar? Or maybe I'm mistaking you for someone else. I think that's you because I remember Christopher mentioning your name on a trip to Jaipur. 4 more months of this size, and I'm gonna take a break because I'm getting tired. How long am I being online? An hour, 34 minutes? Yeah, that should be good. Um, how do we follow your knitting journey? Instagram is the best place to follow me on anything. The other place which is really good to follow is my YouTube channel, which is also linked on my Instagram profile. And what I do with a friend of mine is we do a podcast, which we started like maybe 6 weeks back because we are on episode 6. Every Friday, we record a podcast, which in general, it's a very casual podcast where we are just chatting about the things we do, whatever crafty projects we have gotten ourselves into, whether it's knitting, spinning, weaving, quilting, clay work. She's a yarn dyer, and Nancy from Shunzerella Yarns, and she does a lot of other crafts as well. So we just sit around and chat and talk about all the things that we have done in that week, what we have not done, what we should be doing, all of that. And but it's just basic casual chit chat. We don't have an agenda. Like we are supposed to be recording today at 4 o'clock. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about today. I might be talking about the fact that I was live on Instagram and chatting with you folks. So it's very much like how I'm chatting right now, except it's just the two of us going back and forth. And people say they enjoy the way that we are snarky towards each other. Like, once you kind of know each other and you know what buttons you can push, you just do that. So, so yeah, that's the other place you can follow us. And the good thing with YouTube is that the videos do remain there. Even this live footage is getting recorded and will be live on YouTube as well, so you can watch things there as well. Did Nancy dye the yarn in your hat? No, this yarn, no, not this one. She, uh, this yarn, this yarn is by Knitted Knit, Laura Jean in Oregon. She's the one who dyed this one. With Nancy's yarn, I knit the Fantastic Shawl by Stephen West. And if you just go few posts back, you will see the baby blanket that I knit out of Nancy's morphing minis. So she makes what's Nancy's special thing. She does several special things, but one cool thing is she makes these morphing mini sets, which are gradients, which many people make, gradients of yarns. But the cool thing is that her gradient sets can, like two of her gradient sets, you can pick any two and they can match. Like, not any two, but you can pick two sets which can go from one to the other. So if you wanted more yardage for a blanket or something like that, You can pick two of her morphing mini sets, and they will have a continuous going from one color to the other with a very even gradient. And also, if you wanted to do some kind of a shawl in which you're doing gradient for the beginning part of it, and towards the end you wanted to do a solid color, or you wanted to do a solid color for the whole shawl and do a gradient towards the end, um, then it's going to be like, so you can, so she makes dyes yarn separately in full skeins as well, which go on either end of the gradients, so you can kind of do things like that. So yeah, check out her site, Schmozzarella Yarns. And the other cool thing is the way she names everything. She's very good at naming things. I'm terrible at putting names for things, but her colorways names are just so much fun. Rakesh Kumar says you started knitting following me, but did not take it to new levels, which is fine. It's like every level is a good level to be at with knitting, so it's all good. So yeah, she does that. She does like a movie club thing as well, where every month, based on a movie, you get a surprise yarn. I'm signed up for the next one, which is November. So I'll be getting it sometime this month, and the movie is Coco. So I'm looking forward to what colorway she's going to dye for the movie Coco. So yeah, so we generally talk about all the kinds of things we are working. Yeah, the thing with Instagram lives and Facebook lives and stuff is like, stuff stays there and then it vanishes away. The YouTube stream will at least be there so you can watch it at a later time. Or you can just, subscribe to my channel on YouTube or get notifications so you know every time I'm live and all of that. So in those respects, YouTube is a better place to follow me, but I do tend to post a lot of pictures on Instagram. So, and I post pictures about everything. Sometimes I don't even realize that I haven't posted anything about my pottery in like a month because I've just been excited about other things and the clay is just happening in the background. So two more months and I get my break. How about that? And then after these two 16-ounce mugs, I have just small tiny cups too. So Carla asks, Carleen, what have you been spinning on lately? What are you spinning on? Uh, did you see a question about signing your mug? I didn't see a question about signing my mug. Did you see the signature on my mugs? All my mugs are signed and they have my name at the bottom there. It's not clear in this because it has a cornstarch on it, but that's how the mugs are signed. You've probably seen a mirror image of it, but it has my handwritten name. So I don't etch my signature. I actually have made a brass stamp. Oh, this is the stamp, and now you can see it right side. So I actually sent in my signature, and they created a brass stamp for me, and then I can just stamp it down. Yes, I keep them signed up so they're ready. Regarding your question on what am I spinning on? I am spinning on my Daedalus Sparrow one project, which is a gradient, which I'm forgetting the mix. It's a very fancy mix. I think it is Yak Merino Silk by Corgi Hill Fibers, and it's a long gradient, 5-ounce gradient, which goes from one color to the next. So I'm spinning it as fine as I can on the Daedalus Sparrow wheel. That's coming along. Since the colors don't change so often, I'm not making much progress on it, or I feel I'm not making much progress on it because I feel like I'm spinning a solid color, and then slowly when I look at my wheel I say like, it looks like that changed a little bit. It's a very smooth gradient. If the color changes are faster, the spinning goes faster for me, but when it's one solid color it goes slower, and I keep feeling that it's a solid color even though it's not. But that spinning is going on that wheel. I have a sweater spin that is not getting much action lately, but I spin sporadically on it. Is on my Lendrum, and that is like, it's a mix of different fibers, but they are all in the purple and blue colorway range, but there are lots of bits of orange and pink and yellow thrown in as well, but majority of it is blue and purple. And I have made like tiny bits of all that fiber, and I'm spinning them almost at random, but like a controlled random, so I get even distribution of all the colorways on the bottom. So I think I started off with like 32 ounces of fiber. I think it was 3 braids and a whole bunch of half braids and bits of bats or whatever, and I basically split everything up and arrange them so that all my singles have all the different colorways in it, but also kind of randomly. And so that's I've spun up half of it. Half of it is spun up, and I'm still spinning on the other half. And it's going to be a 3-ply, and I'm going to eventually make a sweater out of it. That's what the plan is. So that is that project. My Aura wheel, that doesn't have a project on it because I need to pull that wheel from my back wall. But right now my fiber studio is filled with quilting stuff, and the quilting table takes up all the room. So that's why that wheel is not coming out. But for my art yarns, I'm spinning on the Daedalus Magpie, and I'm actually working on a secret project. I just finished a big spin on it. You can see pictures on Instagram on my 1-pound yarn baby that I made, which was a commission piece for someone, and it is 1 pound of a bulky yarn that I spun on, and that came out really nice. So I'm talking too much and I'm not sealing it. my mark. So yeah, those are all the spins. I do have some spins on my spindles as well, but I have not done spindle spinning for almost 2 years. Ever since the pandemic started. I did a little bit, but not much. Because I usually land up spindle spinning when I go to shows, either spindle spinning or sock knitting. So since the shows didn't happen last year, I was just like, no, I'm just going to, it's just sitting there. It needs that perfect time for me, to be out and about and talking to people and be doing something with my hands. Spindle spinning is really nice. And that kind of hasn't happened much. So, one last amount, and then I have to take a break. Any other questions? Any last questions? Come on. I'm almost tempted to just finish all of them right now, but I saw in the last few months I was forgetting a few steps, and it just won't take me longer. It'd be better if I paused, took a break, had some lunch, and then got back to it. Right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me. Hope y'all enjoyed the live stream today. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, follow me on YouTube, Facebook, wherever. All links are there on my Instagram profile. If you cannot find it, just mention it in comments and send the links. So you can see all the other things I've been up to. Alright? Take care everyone. Bye.